Hello everyone and welcome back to the Dealerchat podcast. Today with James Harding of Chops Garage. We've got a returning guest, Umesh Samani of Specialist Cars in Stoke. You've got myself, Joe Betty of Barrow Motors, and today our special guest is Malcolm Beattie of MB Motors in Northern Ireland, Ballymena. Is that the correct way of pronouncing it?
Yeah, that's perfect, Joe. For an English guy, you've done all right there. Well done.
I'll do my best. It's going to be really interesting. It's a pleasure to have you on. I see you all over the place. You pop up on, Dealer Kits thing. You pop up on IMDA, which you must know, talking about everyone. So I've seen you around for a while. Spotted you at the Used Car Awards. Can't miss you. Best dressed man. In your sort of white tuxedo or whatever it was.
That's a very kind introduction, Joe. Thank you.
And it looks like you've got a really sort of slick operation over there. I'm looking forward to finding out, how things work for you. So, in your own words, Malcolm, just for those of us or those listening to the podcast, watching who don't know you, can you give us a sort of quick rundown of who you are and about the business?
Yeah, so I started off my career at 16, selling cars for local Peugeot garage. Worked there for 12 years, worked my way up to sales manager whenever on the sideline I was trying to sell a few cars, and that's where MB Motors got introduced. And look back now and see where it was selling Peugeot 206s at the side of the house at £450 to now stocking just over 100 cars. The site I'm on, I've been on for 8 years. We came out here 8 years ago with 25 cars, and at one stage last year we were up to the length of 150 cars. And it's just sort of blew my mind how it's all expanded over that period of time. Sort of 3 different lots. The site has extended 3 times over that period of 8 years. I love what I do. Try and stock cars from £5,000 or £6,000 to £30,000. Just introduced 3 new members of staff this year, so that's me up now to 15 staff, which scares the absolute life out of me. And the fact that I was here on my own 8 years ago to now having 15 staff. So, I enjoy it. Enjoy it every minute of it today. Well, most minutes of it.
Brilliant. So, how long have you been doing it since you started selling cars from home? On your own sort of thing.
So 2009 was whenever I sort of started selling the odd car from the house, and then people started complaining about me parking in their driveways and parking cars here, there, and everywhere. I know most of you have come from that sort of background where you've got cars stacked everywhere. And there was a man who I got friendly with, had sold him cars. He used to do a bit of taxiing, and he had a bit of a spare yard. And he says, "Look, if you want, I'll keep the cars for you, and I'll clean them, and sure, I'll try and sell them for you." While I was still working in the main dealership, and that worked out really well. And he was an absolute gentleman, and still keeps in contact and stuff with me. And then just got to the stage where I was outgrowing that area. The business I was in it was sort of going downhill. It's the time of recession and stuff, and I thought, right, do you know something? I'm just going to try and make a go of this myself. I was always that worry of taking that big leap of faith to go, right, you've got a steady income plus this wee side income. Do you go and take the big step and go, right, let's try and make an income for yourself and pay your mortgages and pay your bills and all the rest of it? So I moved out. This was just a sort of landfill type site that had went belly up during the recession too, and there was nobody using it. And I got in contact with the guy who owned it, and he gave me a great start. He was like, look, take that quarter of an acre there, see how you get on with it for a year, and sure, we'll sort out the financials after it. He says, you pay me rent every month, and we'll take that off the final bill. And I owe a lot to that guy. Unfortunately, he's dead and buried now, but he was an absolute gentleman. And since that, then through the family, I've bought 2 extra bits of ground, which now I've got an acre and a half site here, and I've put up new workshops there a year ago actually now, to try and sort of do more in-house work, because the business was getting too busy and you were outsourcing all this different work to all these guys. And I've listened to your guys' podcast. I know some of you like outsourcing stuff, but I was just seeing these bills coming in every month and going like, I need to do something about this here. So that's where I thought, like, buy this extra piece of ground, put up a workshop, and try and do as much in-house stuff as we can, which we do pretty much all in-house stuff now apart from bodywork. And it's worked out well, so it has.
So it has worked out well having you think it's worked better for you having everything in-house?
Yeah, very much so. Now, to be fair, last year wasn't a great year for me, don't mind admitting that. I had the cost of the extension of the site, I had the cost of putting up all the new buildings, and for some reason I had in my head I wanted 150 cars. Why anybody want 150 cars, I don't know. And I went, this is just stupid. I was buying cars just for the sake of having slots filled in the pitch, I wasn't making profit at them. I caught myself on going, what are you doing? You don't need this. Like I come out with 25 cars and was happy then. What need was there for 150? So a few months ago, coming up probably 6 or 7 months ago, right, some 100 cars is plenty for us to deal with, and it means that we can do it all in-house. You're not being busy fools and selling cars that's not making a lot of profit and shipping it out to external service guys to do the work and the external valet guys do the work and paying their bills, and this is just crazy. So now we run a very efficient ship, I would say, and the fact that everything is done in-house, we can maintain the standard that I want to keep. People come into the yard here and go, oh, it always looks really tidy, and all the lines are straight and the cars are always well presented, and that's what I want to give to the customer. I want to be that person that whenever the customer comes in and goes, wow, this is a tidy place, and the cars are now nicely spaced out. You're not having to shuffle up the side of a car to get into it because there's too many cars on the site. They're all nicely spread out. You can open the doors. You're not worried about dinging them and things like that there. So I think it was a good move, and certainly have seen the benefit and the profits as well, that you've got more margin in the car because you're not being a busy fool, buying stuff just for the sake of buying it. And then obviously you keep your prep stuff in-house, which saves a heck of a lot of money, so it does.
I think it's a bug, isn't it? I think, we all get nothing like you at the volume of yours, Malcolm, you know what I mean? But, for me, it's sort of 2025 is the happy medium. But sometimes you get offered a few cars, think, I've got to buy that. I'm thinking, I've got 40 now, what am I going to do with them? And for me, that's uncontrollable. So it's like with you get to 150, and you're thinking, what am I doing? Spend a bit more time, more profitable business, rather than just trying to stack them up all the time and trying to feed every avenue into it, really.
Yeah. Just for constantly buying, like at the minute, thankfully, we've been busy from the start of the year. So at this point, I am constantly trying to buy more stock to replace the sold stock. But last year, you were just constantly buying stock all day, every day, just to try and keep that level of stock. And you were buying bad. You maybe weren't just putting the effort in to say, right, well, what does that car need to sell for, and not just doing the homework as well as I'm doing now. And as you say, Umesh, I think you can just get in a race that you just have to get this and you have to get that, and you go, it's not really worth it. So what's the point?
This is quite an interesting dynamic here, because obviously I was thinking you must have missed Umesh's podcast when he was saying 20, 25 cars for me, that's enough, don't want any more, don't want the stress and whatever. But it'd be interesting, Malcolm, I'd love to get your advice on behalf of James, who sat in the top corner looking concerned, listening to your stories of expansion, because he's just doubled his sort of square footage. Oh, is it not a public knowledge?
Yeah, okay, go for it. It's okay, go for it.
And he's now, I'm going to buy loads of cars and stock them in. Well, I mean, James might not want our advice, but we're going to give it to him anyway. But what would be your advice, if you were thinking, right, I'm going to up in size now and really have a crack at it? What's like the best step? What's the mistakes you made that you wouldn't do again?
I think if you don't have the mindset of you have to have that amount of cars and you have to fill spaces with it, continue to buy properly, continue to look at your margins, that you're not just being a busy fool. If you've got the structure to stock, double your cars and have the space and everything else, then of course, go for it. But there's no point just buying cars for the sake of buying them. But if you can continue to monitor what you're buying, continue to monitor your margins, continue to monitor your overheads and your expenses in the cars, then absolutely, go for it. But you can just end up getting, I feel, too big and just let standards slip. My overage cars was a problem last year because there were just so many cars. You weren't looking at your overage stock as much because you were going, I'll worry about that another time. Whereas now, as of yesterday, I think I have 6 overage cars out of 100. I've been really watching my stock turn and going, I need to continually watch my stock turn. I need fresh stock come in. If that thing's not selling, right, get shot off it. Let's go and buy new stock. So if you have the mindset to do that, absolutely, go for it. But say, just don't get too big that you can't control it.
I'm interested with the when people talk about moving the mechanicals in-house, how quickly that became sort of cash positive. Because the way I see it, you've got to obviously invest in the premises to have them in the first place. You've got to invest in the lifts, the tools, You've got to go through a process of finding the right staff, because presumably you didn't luck out and hit on the right mechanics straight away. So I'm interested, sort of like there must be like a point where it takes like a year, 18 months, or even longer potentially before it becomes cash positive versus outsourcing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, as I talk about three phases here. So phase two for me started in the year of COVID, where I had bought the second part of the land and put up the workshop. So that was the first time I'd introduced an in-house mechanic, and I suppose it was just helpful having that person here who could service cars, but also look at the warranty work then that was coming back in again, because obviously we all have warranty work to contend with. So just having that person in-house that a car could come in and be looked at, that was okay. It was a small shed. There was two ramps in it. He worked fine, and then introduced a second mechanic into that there. And mechanics, as we all know, are like hen's teeth. They're hard to get. Good guys. Phase three, which happened a year ago, I then thought, right, I need to make this work. So I put up a purpose-built workshop with 6 lifts in it. I've now 5 mechanics, 1 apprentice, and they're just rattling through the work. Some of the guys are more experienced than others, and they can all work together. They can all help each other. The 2 young lads that I have in, 2 apprentices I have in now, they just want to work, and it's just like these guys don't come about too often, and you got an offer off them. One of them actually just came in and said, I want to be a mechanic. Both of them actually did. And I was like, right, okay. And look, I'm going to tech and I want to do this, and they just want it to work. And you just don't get people nowadays who just want to work. And like one of the guys came in, he just was absolutely stinking of oil, stinking of grease, and you go, you're just a wee worker. And he is, and he's settled in great. So when you get to that and you get those good mechanics, and you're not having those bills coming in from the outside mechanics who, and then they want to earn their money, so you're paying them more money. You don't have to turn around with them, because you might leave a car down with them and say, look, that sold, need that back in a couple of days. You're not paying that mechanic as much money as his retail customer is. So realistically, his retail customer is going to be more beneficial to him, and he's going to put him in front of you. So I think in-house, you're getting your cars turned around quicker and at a less cost.
Yeah, I think that the other element I would be interested in is, aren't you adding another level of stress? Like, at least if you outsource it and you send a car out, if there's a problem with something getting stuck and taking forever to come off or whatever, or someone's not turned up for the day halfway through or whatever, a ramp's gone for, you're taking on board, because presumably they don't just keep quiet about it, they come and tell you. You're taking on board all of that. Whereas at least for me, like when I send it away, I'm just dealing with the stress of customers. I don't have to really hear about the mechanical challenges of getting that sorted. It's just drop it back to me when it's done kind of job.
Can you not see my receding hairline's getting worse here?
Well, yeah.
I think, James, it's the other way around. I think when you're relying on other people, I think it's more stressful. At least, I've got my own workshop, Malcolm's got his. You've got the techs on hand, and it's first hand. I mean, the guy that I've got now is absolutely incredible. It's been 2.5 years, fantastic. Nothing is too much of a challenge. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. That's his attitude. Retail customers, my work, whatever it may be, he just wants to keep spinning everything out. So that's the way. But I found it more stressful when I was relying too much on some stuff outside, because you drop the car off and you get all sorts of stories. There's been a headache. It's not been as easy, and it's not out of your hands, is it? You're not in charge of anything, are you really? And just being wound a story, and all of a sudden there's your bill, and you're none the wiser of, is it an hour's work or is it 5 hours work? That's the way I'd be looking at it.
Completely agree with you. It's the exact same as I was facing over the years. And also you're finding that the quality of work maybe wasn't just as good, because, oh, sure, that'll be all right. Whereas if you have somebody with your logo on their chest and their polo shirt or the jumper, they're working for your business. So they're wanting to make sure that car is done correctly. Whereas somebody down the road who's just servicing a car for that garage up the road, oh, sure, that'll do rightly. And in the other turn, your own mechanic will try and save you money. They'll not maybe just go and fit that brand new part to that car when they maybe get a second hand part or a non-genuine part for it, and they'll go, right, well, sure, this will do the same job and cost you some money. Whereas other guys just want to go and fit the genuine thing. And like, we're dealing with second hand cars, they're not going to be genuine parts fitted to them all the time. But somebody down the road will just go, oh, just go and get that from the manufacturer,
Would you say there's a particular point at which it pays to make that move? Is it 25 cars, 30 cars?
If you're asking me to put a number on it, I'd probably say 50 cars. I think 50 cars, if you're, depending on your stock turnovers as well, but if you've got in-house mechanic who can prep your car, like you, whatever number of hours in the day, can they throw out 3-4 cars? It just works out far better, so it does. It's taking that step. I get it. It's an extra wage. Like for example, this year I've took on a digital marketer, and I'm going, do I really want that extra wage? But I just did not have the time to do the social media side of things the way I wanted to, and I'm now looking at his wage bill, going, will that sell me more cars? Well, I hope it will. I don't know the facts yet, but the same as the mechanic. Will that mechanic save me money? You don't know until you take that step, but I think anybody who's got a mechanic will turn around and go to you, you need to get a mechanic.
I suppose, James, with you, I mean, I understand it's easy if you just to palm it off down the road, and it's expense once you've got your side to get that mechanic in, but then you could also try and get more retail work in as well, couldn't you?
You want me to have more retail? Or more retail for customers?
Depends on, and I know Joe's done the opposite. He doesn't really want to do retail work, but it's just a thought. If you're thinking, hold on a minute, he's prepped all my cars, I'm happy with that, but then he's got a few hours. You could just start marketing a little bit.
It doesn't even have to be like retail, does it? It might be your other trader mates that you know. They're like, oh, you can do the servicing for us. Can Dave, your mechanic, do that for you, sort of thing. What I would say, James, is you've been moaning to us about your big tax bill, and you're now going limited and all that sort of stuff, which you weren't before, which, if someone might have told you to do like 2 years ago. You can afford someone, so why not? It's compound interest, isn't it? The sooner you get someone in, and I know you'll be listening to Malcolm saying then, 50 cars is when you probably need a mechanic, and you're like, I don't have that many.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That's me ruled out of it. If you had a mechanic, maybe you would. Do you know what I mean? It would help you get those cars prepped quicker. And the other benefit, I think, and I don't know if the other two guys will agree with me, when it comes to having your own mechanics versus, and I do understand, part of me sometimes daydreams about the idea of just sending cars off and they get sorted, but it's information is the really important thing. So if you've got a customer on the phone, like, the car's come back under warranty and they're desperate to get it back, and you're like, well, it's at the garage and they're doing something I don't really know, it just doesn't wash, they're not very happy with that. But if you can walk out, I'm going to go and speak to our technician, Stefan. He says it's this and that and that. He's confident that's what it is now, but he's just having to wait for that to come from the main dealer. So it is going to be an extra half a day, but we're confident that's going to fix it. We're going to give it a wash for you, and it's going to come back to you. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. As long as they know what's going on, which you can get from your own staff, but I think it's harder getting it from, a garage where they're just rushing around. They're like, we're waiting on a part. It will be tomorrow.
Yeah, like I just said, you're more in control, aren't you, of your destiny then, aren't you?
Right, so I want to give you a quick message from the sponsor of this episode. And I'll try and make it as quick as possible, because if you're watching this, I know you're probably a car dealer and you are very time poor, just like me. But rest assured that Dealerkit can help you save time and money. Dealerkit is a DMS, so a dealer management system, and it's so incredibly user-friendly and smart that it has absolutely revolutionised our business. Using the Dealerkit system, you can keep all your cars. You've got yourself a really up-to-date stock book. It's really easy when you sell a car and take a part exchange. It puts it straight into stock for you. There's a million and one features that I'm probably not going to have time to tell you. But let me tell you some of my favourite parts about using the Dealerkit DMS. Generating an invoice and a handover document, PDI, has never been easier. So if we want to do that now, the car's already in stock, we enter our customers' details and we can process handover documents. And it just makes the whole process seamless, and it saves us so much time. Another thing that's really great is I buy quite a few cars from some of the main auctions, whether that be BCA, Mannheim, Aston Barclay. They've got a very, very clever invoice import system. So usually when you buy a car at an auction, you will get an email with your invoice attached. Now, all you need to do is hit your specialist import address, put that in the email and forward it on, and that car is on your dealer management system. And not only is it there, it's got all the information about that car. It tells you exactly how much you spent on the fees, even down to how much VAT. And talking of VAT, this is going to revolutionize doing your VAT returns as well. It calculates all of your margins as you go along, just taking all the thinking work out of it. We have got this set up so that every car that comes into stock, it instantly creates a job card, which you can add jobs to as you know and need them, but ours starts out of a bare minimum of a valet and an MOT, because we know we're going to do that on every car. Then we can go along, if we check the service history, it needs a service, we can add that in, and it couldn't be easier. You kind of hit the green plus button, input the type of job you want to do, whether that could be brake pads, dent removal, diagnosis, fit an accessory, all that sort of stuff, and it is there. It just helps you keep track of everything that's going on. Same page, you can come down, check out your expenses, so you know exactly how much that car owes you, work out what your margin is going to be, and this will plug into your auto trader as well, so we can go to edit, look at pricing, hit that, And not only does it have the prices there for you from Auto Trader, you can go straight to your retail check should you want to, if you want to know what the retail rating is, but there's quick little jump buttons as well. So if you want to go great price, it will automatically put you at the top of great price. Good, it puts you at the top of good price, fair, etc. It's really easy to make price adjustments on your car. If you've just creeped out of good into fair, it's really easy to just hit that good button. It's back there, and that will update across to Auto Trader and all of your advertising platforms. Adding pictures on here couldn't be simpler as well. It used to be a bit of a nightmare for me connecting my phone to a computer in order to get the pictures up to upload them. But now it's got a really clever QR system. You literally scan that on your phone. It's going to open up a Dropbox, and you can click which pictures you want to go in there. And across they go, and they are ready to go live on your Auto Trader. And not just that, if you want to add pictures of the service history and keys, which is something that we do routinely now, it will add that as a picture document on your entry on the dealer kit system. So if you're running around trying to remember, did it have 2 keys or did it not? I don't know. You better look at your pictures. If someone's asking you, did they do the Holdex service on the last service? You don't have to go through the filing cabinet. You can look right there on Dealerkit. On top of that, you've got a little CRM in here as well, which is keeping on top of all your leads. Anything that comes through to you, whether that be via Auto Trader, email, WhatsApp, or visitor chat, whichever kind of system you use, it's all going to end up in your leads in Dealerkit. You can go through, it will tell you whether someone's responded to it or not. And it will also show you your whole kind of chat log on there. And it will tell you when the customer's read your messages as well. If you've got a customer who hasn't given you an email, maybe they've just given you a mobile telephone number and you can't get through to them on the phone, you can send a text through here as well, which is such a neat feature. It just opens up so many more avenues for talking to your customers. And talking of text messages and phones, of course, you can use this system on your phone like I do. And what I absolutely love is that I am set up to get notifications. So as soon as we get a lead come in, I'm going to get a text message that tells me that I need to go there and check out that lead. As soon as we take a deposit, I know. As soon as a payment's received, I know about it, and at the end of the day, at 6 o'clock, I get a report that tells me how many leads we've had, how many we responded to, how many cars we've sold, and how much money we've made. So if we look, for example, Tuesday, here's a roundup of our activity from Bera Motors on the 4th of February. 2 deals created, £5,000 net margin, £165.83 of product net margin, and we had 3 leads, 1 was lost, 01. We might not have updated it properly on there, but then as you go through, we'll see we've got loads of leads. Just there is no missing out on things here, and rather than having to chase around keeping track of different email accounts, it's all in one place. That is by far not everything I could tell you about Dealerkit. There is absolutely tons of stuff on here, and what's even greater is if you speak to the guys at Dealerkit, they will customize everything for you. I can't really rate it highly enough. So if you're interested and you feel like a DMS system might help your business, then I highly recommend Dealerkit. Check the description box below. I'll put a link directly to them. Let them know Joe sent you on the Dealerchat podcast, and I'm sure they will sort you out very soon.
Yes, you're sort of talking first hand, aren't you, rather than relying on some second-hand information someone's trying to blag you half the time.
Yeah,
you're talking to the person who you're paying their wages, and they're wanting to give you answers of what's going on, so they'll tell you the truth. Whereas some other guy is just going to blag you down that they maybe even forgot to even order the part, and they go, "Oh, I must order that part. Yeah, I must get that ordered." But they're not actually telling you that there, so therefore it's making your customer service not as good as Joe says with somebody who's in house.
I can see the fear in your face, James, about employing a technician.
Well, I think the thing with it is that it is the increased space. I see it as 2 ways. I either increase retail, which is increased overheads because I need to then get full valeter, like say, might need to get a mechanic, or I can use the space to increase trade sales, which actually means no overheads, because obviously trade sale vehicles, I wouldn't be doing any prep on, so I could use the additional space to expand on that. I'm lucky to have quite a lot of stock offered to me quite a lot of time at prices where I can actually make a margin just trading them out to other traders. So depends which way I go with it, I guess.
I like the sound of that, James. The trade work is always easy work. There's no comeback on it. It's a quick turn. It's in, it's out. And if you are getting a lot of cars offered to you through your social channels and stuff, yeah, I wouldn't knock that. So I wouldn't. It's a good idea.
I was going to say, there's still going to be bits that want mechanical bits, isn't it? And I think if you're trading, you will do better if you've got a mechanic in-house. You can get the cars from the public or wherever you're getting them from, the main dealers, whatever, but it needs a service and it needs a tyre. If your guy can quickly do that and right, it's ready to go, other than you washing it and painting that corner or whatever, mechanically it's sound.
Yeah, there is that, yeah.
And the other thing I was going to say is, you're saying, like, how long will it take to kind of see a net positive result from having a mechanic? Like, is it 18 months or whatever? Well, how long are you planning on being in the game? You know, you planning on retiring in the next 5 years?
No, no. It'd be nice to, wouldn't it? It'd be nice to, yeah.
Your sort of timeline of when it's going to pay you back is too short. If you focus too short on a year or two, you're going to be like, oh, will it pay me back? If you think 10 years down the line, will I be thanking myself that I got staff in, they helped me, and, you know, they're running around while I'm sat at a desk making decisions?
I just wonder as well, the thing with having more staff is it almost ties me to the business more as well, because I'd stress about whether they're getting on with things or not. Whereas at the moment, if I decide to take an afternoon off and shut the doors, there's no overheads because no one's here. And I don't have to worry about whether he's cracking on with something or not, because I'm a bit of a control freak, I'll admit that.
James, honestly, I can relate to a lot of it because, as I say, on the sales side, there's only me. I've been doing it, 27 years, whatever. So it was a challenge when I bought the workshop back in 2016. So as you say, all of a sudden, once we'd signed the paperwork, I was an employer of 5 people overnight. I'm thinking, oh shit, right, okay. Then it's all about control. What are they doing? But you just have to go with it, don't you? You just have to get your head in a place and say, right, okay, they're employed to do that. You make the rules. This is how it's going to flow. And I could write a book on, honestly, technicians of none of the staff are here from when I actually took over. Some was my choice, some was their choice. But the technicians was the biggest nightmare that I had, honestly. They were stealing off me and they weren't doing some of the job.
Selling it to me.
Mate, bro, but that's the reality of it. And it's not just me. I think you'll find whoever you speak to, doesn't matter if it's a small independent workshop or if it's a big franchise dealer, these sort of people exist out there. And they take advantage of all of us, don't they really? So I think it's just one of those things. You just have to go with your gut feeling, set the scene of how you want it to progress, and just monitor it, isn't it? And if they're the wrong fit, I think we all make the mistake of probably hanging on to these sort of people a bit too long. I think if it's not working, it's like, no, chop, move on. It's painful at the time, but you have to do it. I mean, I was in a very strange situation 2.5 years ago where the technician he'd got real attitude to the point where some days I couldn't walk into the workshop and have a civilized conversation. So I'm thinking, it's my fucking workshop, listen to me. I'm not trying to have arguments. I just want a conversation. And that was stressing me out. And literally, I sort of I'm thinking, I can't sleep. I decided, you know what? I'm not having this. So I sacked him, fired him. I thought, no, and at that stage, I didn't have anybody lined up for the workshop. But I thought, I've got to make that decision because it's not good for my health or the business, and it pans out. Yeah, you just have to do it, don't you?
The takeaway from that, James, is nothing's permanent. So if you take someone on and it doesn't work out, you don't have to have them forever. Don't worry about the bit that Umesh saying you couldn't sleep and you're going to have fist fights and stuff like that. Don't worry about that.
Is that true though? The HR rules these days are. I mean, obviously, I come from a background I had to do a lot of that, and I know you have to jump through hoops. Like if you keep them on for past a certain period of time, you have to jump through absolute hoops to get rid of people, don't you?
You said where I was 8 years ago. Like I done everything myself. If it was out to put number plates in cars or something to clean, done everything myself. And 8 years later, 15 staff. So I can see you in 15 years with like 20 staff, because you're going to realise that you don't have to be there all the time.
This could be you in 8 years, James.
That's a lovely site, to be fair. That is lovely.
Fabulous.
Like you say, it's really nicely spaced out, isn't it? See, you've got toys as well. We're all allowed toys, Joe. You can stop having a dig at me now.
You've got to have toys, sure.
If it's orange, I buy it. And you're sitting at night some nights and go, oh, that's orange, that's my colour. I must buy that. And you go, what have I done? What do I need that for? But it's been a good talking point, so it has on the forecourt, so it's been good.
Well, that is a beautiful looking site. Like you say, they're all really nicely spaced.
It 100% looks, purpose built. It's the dream type of thing you'd want, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's so nice to look at it and know that you've got space around you, so that not that you want to, as we know at this point, but for a site that I assume, has cars there in prep and whatever and all that sort of stuff, it all looks immaculate, which is really impressive. I imagine you probably had to tidy up for the sake of the drone shots going on, but
if you looked out at the site today, it just doesn't look the exact same way as everybody
else. This is where I'm really tight as well. I mean, how much did that bloody spinning wheel cost you on the floor? I knew the guy that manufactured those, actually. When from my corporate job, we used to do marketing for engineering firms. But yeah, they cost a lot of money, don't they? What was
That was the biggest thing. That was my first biggest thing, because I was out taking photographs and I was fed up having to wait to a certain time of the day, to the
That's a
shadows
good
going
point.
to the sun, it was raining. Oh, I can't take photographs today. Right, okay. And this was whenever I was doing it all myself. It's like, right, okay, you're out there in the yard taking 4 or 5 car photographs, because I used to call it a dull, bright day was your perfect time for taking photographs with cars, because there was no shadows. It was all good. And I went, I want a turntable, and that was the first big purchase I done, and I've never regretted it. The amount of people that comment about how good it looks, every single car on my website looks exactly the same because it's in the same place. There's no shadows, there's no nothing, and I just think it presents them very, very well.
Do you know what? You did actually just sell that really well, because I'll have a car and I'm waiting 2 days to photograph it because it's just been peeing down with rain. And I know the first thing someone's going to do if they message me on it is say, have you got any pictures of it in the dry? And like you say, I don't like it when there's any variation in the background or the angle of the car as well. So actually, to be fair, that does actually sound like quite a good investment.
Yeah, it's the same as even going to your mechanic. Everything you do is an investment, and you want it to make your business work better, work smarter, and potentially bring you in more customers. If you can present yourself better to the guy down the street, I think the customer will want to come and buy a car from you. So that's why I probably have invested in the likes of the turntable, in the new shades, just different things to make you stand out from the other guys, if that makes sense. And the other guys always try and copy you. It frustrates the life out of me. You're just like, I don't think up your own ideas, but it is what it is.
You just have to be one step ahead. That's the whole thing. It is, as you say, it's right somebody copying, but I've always said they'll be out there copying. But when you're one step ahead, you're always ahead, aren't you? So there's no way they're going to be as good as you, because it's your idea. You've thought of it. So you're always one step ahead of it, aren't you, really? But it's the same exactly, because I've got a turntable. But again, it's like the sun thing, rain, whatever, the shadows, you miss the opportunity. They've got a couple of cars which you want photographing, but it's like the snow there, so it's like, no, it's not going to have the ice in the background. I've got to wait till that melts away. It is frustrating and time consuming, and then when it's the right opportunity, customers come in thinking, oh shit, I've missed another day now. So, yeah.
As with everything, I always think of it as like a compound interest type thing. So if I think I'm going to want something in the future, I want to do it ASAP so I get the most use out of it. And it starts, because Malcolm has to think about how much it cost him per car to photograph it with his new turntable. In the early days, it was, start off with, it was 30 grand for the first car. Then it was 15 grand. Then it was whatever. And now it's like 20 pence. It's the electric cost. It's paid for itself, It's just an early investment, isn't it? It's just committing. And I want to ask you a personal question, James. Nicola, Mrs. Chops, is she actually Mrs. Chops? Are you legally married?
Yeah. Well, where's this going? Where's this going?
I'm amazed you could commit, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, well done, mate. Well done.
Yeah. I thought you'd be like, no. We've been together for 25 years, but never pulled the trigger. I thought about it.
She is just a massive overhead.
She might take me for everything, or there'd be some. Think of some problems. You got to think of the positives.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting time with the extra space to see what I decide to do.
Yeah. It's true what you're saying, Joe. You do have to think positively. If you thought negatively about stuff, you just would never do anything. So if you think positively that this is going to make your business better, this is going to make you have a better impression on the customer coming to buy the car, it's only going to be a good thing.
You can't accuse me of not thinking positive in this game. Have you seen the cars I buy?
Thinking foolishly.
That's very debatable.
I'm the most optimistic man in the world when it comes to buying cars, because I'll literally buy anything.
Well, that's the thing. We're talking about having a workshop, for example. I know you just put a video out the other night, or last night, or whenever it was, and you spent like £3,000 on fixing up some Jeep that I wouldn't give you £3,000 for. But I mean, if you had someone in house, that's like a month or more wages. They could have been working on that for a whole month. I know there would have been metal and welding stuff involved, but
metal welding stuff, yeah,
it'll pay for itself. But anyway, enough about your stuff, James. We all know it. We'll be
exactly.
We're talking about this again next year when you haven't done it. But Malcolm, what's the sort of we've talked about phase 1, 2, and 3, or at least for the workshops. But what's next then for MB Motors?
Absolutely nothing, Joe. Absolutely nothing. I can assure you that there. I feel the business is where I want it to be. I sort of talk about it as the completed stage, and I don't mean that in a big-headed way. There's always going to be things changing, and things change in the world that you have to adapt to. But as far as the size of the business is concerned, I don't want to be any bigger. I'd never dreamt that the business would be the size that it is today. So I just want to continue doing what we're doing in a professional manner, continuing to supply good cars. We've really good staff here, so we have, which are fantastic. Like we're a sort of small family. We all got on really well together, and I just enjoy doing what I'm doing. For sort of what James was saying, like yes, you've got the staff in, but it means you can take some time away from the business too. Like I'm away with the kids next week to the Lake District for half term. Will I be thinking about work? Yeah, of course I will to a certain degree, but at the same time, I still know the business is ticking away behind the scenes. So I'm proud of what I've got. I love doing what I do, and I don't see it getting any bigger. Just continue doing what we're doing.
Yeah, I'd say looking at I can totally understand that. Looking at what you've got there, I'd say that's like, for me, peak dealership goal, isn't it? It just looks immaculate. It's got the right manageable number of cars and staff, and it looks bang on. I don't. You haven't got a showroom though, have you? Not noticed that. Have you got a showroom within the months? I didn't see that within the building. So it's all the cars are outside, yeah.
Yeah, that's always something that I would have loved. Like I'm quite envious of Umesh with his lovely showroom where he can present his cars, his nice cars, and I would love that, but I don't need it. And that's just I started off with a very small porta cabin here, or modular building, whatever your fancy title is for it. Got rid of it a lot of years ago, and I had to employ more staff. So, and then I doubled it as well, as you can see in the video. So, like this is technically just a porta cabin I'm sitting in, but it does the job. It's easy heated. And do I need a fancy showroom? No, I don't. All the cars are presented nicely outside. Some people think you have a showroom because of the turntable. Oh, I've seen your car in the showroom. All right, okay, you mean the turntable? So yes, it would be nice, but like we have the space. If it's a wet day, we can pull the car into the turntable, let somebody have a look at it. There's big lights, they can see the car. So yes, I would love a showroom, but no, I'll never have one.
I noticed you've got quite a mix of stock there as well. You get some vans in the lineup there as well, and then you've got like some sporty stuff, and then you've got some sort of mid-range stuff. Is there any sort of focus you would have? I mean, like a lot of people, James says with the commercial stuff, and James Alford, that he loves selling commercial stuff, and his team loves selling commercial stuff because it's really hassle-free. Do you find that with the van side of the business versus the cars?
No, I would find it the opposite. I have found that commercial guys are nearly getting more fussier than car guys.
Right.
They're coming to look at a van that is a workhorse. Most people buy a van for a workhorse, and in the back the playline is not that tidy, and it's just like, yeah, it's been carting stuff about for 3 years, so it's not going to be that tidy. We don't do an awful lot of vans. I always wanted to have a car for everybody. So if you come into my gate and you're looking for a first-time buyer car, I would have one. If you came looking for a hatchback or an SUV or a pickup or a van, I would have it, which I do have, and I like having that range to suit everybody. But vans aren't a massive thing for me. I just find they can be hard work, so they can. So it wouldn't be a massive focus. Maybe it's just because I'm a car person and I prefer working with cars, but I've just found that the commercial guys come and pick holes in vans. You're like, are you serious? This is a workhorse. The same with pickups. A lot of pickup owners where mum's taking their kids to school, but for the 3 years of that car could not, or vehicle could have been on a farm. So it's not going to be just the same as your old car was, your Land Rover Discovery Sport or whatever. It's not that same caliber of a vehicle. So I find that you sort of get yourself tied up in knots trying to sell stuff like that at times.
Where would you say the absolute sweet spot for stock is for you? What stuff do you get in that is just going to go straight? Like for me, it's like a Hyundai i10, a Citroen C1, iGo. If it's between 3 and 5 grand and the mileage is under 80, I know it's going to go straight out the door pretty much. What would you say your sweet spot with your stock is?
Every time I listen to you and hear you saying that, it makes me really envious, because I wish I could fill my yard with under 5 grand stuff that you could sell, because you always get people in asking for it, and I can't get it. I don't know, like we do well with SUVs, so like Peugeot 3008s, Qashqais, that sort of thing. But in saying that, in January I had 3 or 4 overage Qashqais.
Really?
Yeah, low mileage Technas, diesels, stuff that I really sell well for. Black, nice blue, they just weren't selling. And you're going, what? Why?
I can't sell them fast enough. I honestly can't. I've got an email today from a lady properly kicking off at me because she thinks I sold a cash guy from under her. And the thing it was one photo on my site, a stock photo from some other cash guy, and I've got people fighting over it already. And it's never even been advertised. It's just, we do call them the cash cow, don't we? Because you just can't get them out fast enough sometimes, can you? But that's strange to be sitting on them.
What price range is that then, James?
That was, well, interestingly, 6,995 on that one. The lady who's kicking off, I actually offered the car to her at 6.5, but I sold it at 6,995. But she didn't put a deposit down, wouldn't commit to it, so now she's upset. And then sent me an email with listings of all these other cash guys she thought were better priced than mine as well. But I'll leave that for a video because people like whinging customers.
So what do you call overage, Malcolm? What do you call overage?
I would call 90 days overage. So I'm still in that old mindset of 90 days. I looked at my stock turn there in January and it was 41. So it was. So I was very impressed with that because I've this last few months I've really been putting a focus on stock turn. So when I'm looking at my stock list now, I'm sort of going down to maybe 60 days to see, look, does this need altered in price or whatever? But I still have that old mindset of 90 days, but I'm still actively trying to sell them before they hit 90 days.
So is your policy to sort of keep reducing it sort of 60 days, drop it down a bit again, or is it a case of 90 days that you trade it, it's got to go at whatever it fetches?
I wouldn't trade it. I did trade a van last week and blew an absolute fortune on it, a 2022 Vivaro with 26,000 mile on it. To me, a mint van, and again, I just could not sell it. And a guy was looking for one, and I went, yeah, do you know something? Take it with you. And I just should I kept that or not? But it was in stock far too long. I was fed up looking at it and going, nah, do you know something? That has
was
to
it was it prepped? Is all your stock fully prepped? Because it's really hard to trade a car if you've fully prepped it, isn't it?
I don't really trade stuff but for that reason. We bring them in, we do the dents, we do the alloys, we have them serviced. So you've already so much cost against the car. I don't do an awful lot of trading. But that just was a van that seemed to have stuck with me for whatever reason. It was metallic grey. It wasn't a white van. To me, it had everything going for it, but I just could not shift it. And I was fed up looking at it. Went, right, that guy needs it. Let just get rid of it and go and buy new stock.
Do you only ever advertise stuff when it's 100% prepped? Does it just, or
No.
will you photograph as soon as it comes in and say up for sale?
Yeah, as soon as I buy something, I'll put it on the website with a wee coming soon logo. What happened then last year was the website, because we were quite busy, was just full of coming soons. And I went, right, we need to change this. So now we do it whenever the car arrives in off the transporter, because obviously most of my stock comes from the mainland. The lorry will come in, the balloting guys will just get a team together and go, right, let's wash and hoover this car straight into the photo booth and do what we call waiting prep photographs. So it's literally just a couple of images of the outside of the car and inside of the car. Doesn't look particularly great, but at least it's not a coming soon logo. So the coming soon logos haven't arrived on yet. Then the average sort of photographs at least let somebody see what the car's like. Now we do sell cars from that. See you've got a black Tiguan coming in. Yeah, it's here and you can see it. So we try and do that. So we do, rather than just having all these coming soon logos coming on.
What's the average cost to get a car over there, Malcolm?
Depends where it's coming from, but if you're asking for an average, it's about £350, £400 plus VAT.
Being very nosy now, what percentage do you sell back over here then? Would you say?
There's a few. I would say we do probably 2 or 3 a month.
Right, okay.
Back across the water. It's not a massive business. Same as the Southern Ireland business. We used to sell a lot of cars to the south, but then Brexit ruined that.
Yeah.
So we're always sort of doing 2 or 3 out of Northern Ireland every month. So we are.
And do you find those customers coming over actually to pick the cars up, or have you got to just pay to get it sort of shipped over and they just collect from the docks, or what happens to those customers?
We ship it right to their door, so we do. So that the transport company that brings the cars from the mainland to us, they take them back out again, and they're very good. We've worked with them for a lot of years, and the guys who are selling the cars here do walk around videos with the customers and let them see every wee mark that's on the car, that whenever it gets them, they're not disappointed with it, so they know exactly what they're buying. And the transport guide will come and pick it up from us, deliver it right to their door, and the customer's happy.
And will you charge the customer for that delivery service, or trying to absorb that?
Yeah, we do. We absorb a bit off it, so we have a cheap delivery cost advertised, and just to at least think, oh, well, it's not that bad to get that car delivered. So we absorb some of it, but we don't move in prices. Our strategy has always been we don't move in prices anyway. But for something that you're selling back across the water, you maybe have to absorb a couple of £100 just to get
Well,
it
it's good
back.
to get it delivered to their doorstep, and it saves the hassle. Same thing. It's like, forget the water. We'll get it to your doorstep. Empty. That's a good benefit, isn't it? Really? Yeah.
Yeah. It just means you've no barriers between them. If they want to buy the car, they can see who we are. They can see our reviews. They can see around the car. The sales guys put their face in front of the video and say, "Look, hi, the Card's a great guy at doing that. Or, hi, I'm Card. Here's the Mercedes CLA you were looking at," and then walk them around the car so they get a proper feel for it before they even put a deposit on it.
If they want to send it back though, who pays to get it back again?
So far, that hasn't happened. So let's just keep it.
Has it not?
No.
Right. Okay.
No, we do make it very clear, because you obviously could have that hassle. We just say, look, this is the car, this is the video. We are showing you there is a stone chip on the bonnet. We are showing you the wee mark on the wheel. So whenever it comes, you can't say, "Oh, well, you didn't tell me about that there." We have told you everything about that car. So there's never an issue, and they're always going on leaving great reviews. Yeah, bought a car, didn't see it, and it's great. So.
Going back to what we were saying a minute ago, you were saying you don't really trade cars out. So when they get to 90 days, what do you do with them?
Just keep reducing in price.
Right, okay. So you just start hitting the price after 90 days. Right,
Well,
okay.
probably after 60 days, I'll start hitting prices. It'll maybe get to 90 days and go, right, some cost price, let's go. Get it away, get your money back in, and go again.
That was going to be my exact same question, and ask, does that work every time? Because I know there's some cars I've got, and you can't give them away, and you just got to send them to auction and just absolutely just get kicked right in the nuts.
Well, that van is a perfect example. I reduced the price. I probably paid too much for it at the time. I had a lot of vans and thought, yeah, this is great. It's low mileage. It's 3-year-old, 2-year-old at that time. Let's get it bought. But you keep reducing, and they say that van was just, no, that needs to go. So that was a one-off situation for me. But normally reducing the prices does work, and it gets the person in. And then you look at the website and go, or we have used cars NI over here, like your guy's Auto Trader, and you go, this car's so cheap, why is it not selling? Then all of a sudden, 3 or 4 people looking at it. Somebody buys, like it happened this week, as you were saying there, James, a black 2019 Golf. Again, you thought it'd been a really good seller, sat a wee while, reduced it in price. A guy phoned last week and says, yeah, I'm coming on Monday to see that car. I'm coming on Monday. And somebody walked in Monday morning and bought it, and he was absolutely raging. And he was like, we're here to sell cars, we can't hold cars for people, so whoever comes first and puts money in their hand buys a car.
Yeah. Seems to be a hard thing for people to understand that, doesn't it? Well, I guess it's just human nature, isn't it? They want all the cards on their side of the table, don't they? They want to be able to hold the car for an unlimited period of time, and then come and pull it apart and then chip you on the price and not commit to it. But then if you, God forbid, you sell it to someone who just walks on and says, "I'll give you the money," then you're a terrible person.
We get asked that all the time, how much is it to hold that car? And we're just like, no, sorry, we don't hold cars.
Now, that's an interesting one. So you don't take a deposit to hold a car?
No, I will make it very clear to the customer and to the sales guys, make it to the customer, we will only take a deposit if you're committing to buy this car. If you can't
I'm 100% with you on that. I don't see the point in deposits unless... What's the point in taking a deposit off someone that's refundable?
Yeah, well, you can lose that sale. Somebody could come in, this is Monday, and you're coming in Thursday, and somebody wants to, "Oh, I'm sorry, I've got a holding deposit in that car." Well, I'm here to buy the car now. Well, okay then, let's sell you the car.
Yeah, because they'll think nothing of cancelling come Thursday when they were supposed to come in.
Yeah,
and you've turned down 3 or 4 sales in between.
Yeah, exactly. Was it who was I was listening to your guys' podcast the other day? Was it Sheik or Scott or something? And it was like they've now employed somebody to look after their deposits. I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, Sheik said that. Yeah.
And I was just like, really? That must be an absolute nightmare of people coming in. "No, I don't like that. There's a mark on that wheel. I'm not buying that car." Okay, well, there's your £99 deposit back. I just could not be bothered with it. It's like, if you want to buy the car, yeah, no problem, we'll sell you the car, but it's £500. It's non-refundable, and that's you committing to buy the car.
I mean, I do full refundable deposits, but very, very, very rare I've had to give money back, on a deposit. It's a case of it's fully refundable if the car is not as described. That's what I will say to them, because they've seen the video, they've seen 80, 90, 100 images, whatever, the description's all there. So as far as I'm concerned, they are committed to it. If the car is not as described, and I also make a point of saying, don't ring up tomorrow and say you want to cancel, because then you won't be getting your money back because you've not inspected the vehicle.
Yeah.
So it's a case of refundable as long as the car is, what I've described to you. So I do, and again, I won't take a deposit. And people have asked me, well, what happens if I change your mind? I don't want your money. Please do not reserve my car on the website or ring me with a deposit, because I don't want it. Thanks very much, but what's the point?
Exactly that. Yeah, if they're asking that question, there's someone who shouldn't be leaving a deposit on a car.
Yeah.
Well, I had a couple of weeks ago. I bought an A-Class Merc, and they'd been down, test driven it, and they said, well, if we leave a deposit, is it refundable? And I said, well, why would you leave a deposit and ask about refundable? Well, if we just change our mind. I said, if you give me a deposit, I won't give you a penny back. I said, it's simple as 250 quid deposit. The car goes off sale. You've bought it. I said, if you decide to change your mind tomorrow, you've lost it, because you've seen the car, you've inspected it, you've driven it, you're happy with the car, and if you change your mind, I might lose another potential customer. And they said, yeah, we actually agree with you. And to be honest, they've actually bought the car and give me a grand deposit anyway. So, but there we go.
Well, believe it or not. So I put a video out on a Volvo XC70 I bought the other day. I'll probably scare the life out of you guys. 2007, I want to say, with 85,000 miles on. Set the phone alight. People wanted to leave deposit. I said, the car's not ready yet. I won't take a deposit. I said, I'll create a list, and it's going to be like first come, first served off list. Once the car is ready, I'll ring you and see if you want to put the deposit down, you want the car or not. Because I made a mistake early on, especially with the YouTube channel, where if someone saw a car that wasn't prepped yet on the channel and wanted it, and you took a deposit, all you do is get bombarded with, is it ready yet? Is it ready yet? Is it ready yet? And I don't want that pressure on me. It'll be ready when it's ready. And when it's ready, then I'll start to let people know whether they can have a deposit or not. And that's a mistake I learned early on, and I no longer do it at all. I'll say, no, I'm not going to take a deposit of anyone. When the car's ready, I'll ring you back, and I'll work my way down the list. And if you're not ready to go, then I'll go to the next person, and I'll go to the next person. You wouldn't think a 2007 XC70 would be so popular, but
price range tow car is ideal, I would have thought. Yeah.
But yeah, we make it a point, if someone phones up and they're interested in a car and they want to book a viewing, we made a real point of being like, just so you're aware, this isn't a sales technique, but there's a fair chance someone will walk in, they want to buy that car, so we'll be giving you a phone call back to say that it's no longer for sale. And it almost like fills my heart with like pride, because Jason, our salesman, when I hear him saying, look, to be honest, I don't want to take a deposit from you. If you're not coming for a week, and we're not going to do a deposit because it's a week where it couldn't sell. If you can come in sooner, great. If not, then there's no benefit. What I don't understand is people who then think they're giving you a deposit, 200 quid or whatever it is, and you're like, well, why? What was the point of the thing? He's like, well, you've had our money. It's like, you really think when we're selling a 20 grand car and we've got 500,000 quid's worth of cars on the forecourt, your 200 quid's giving me that much benefit for the last week?
Yeah.
It's changed my life. It's helped me so much. Of course it hasn't. It's just sat there in the account doing nothing.
What was interesting with this lady is she's actually said in her email that she's not going to recommend me to other people. She's potentially going to give me a bad review. During the entire process, she'd asked me if I'd advertised the car or not yet. And I said, well, no, I haven't advertised it yet. No one really actually knows I've got it. And she made multiple visits. She made 3 visits to the site to see it. And at no point did she want to put down a deposit to hold this car. Because it turned out that I didn't find out till the 3rd visit that the car she was arriving in was actually under an insurance claim. And she was waiting for the money from the insurance claim before she could buy the vehicle. By this point, she'd already tried 3 cars out and then gone for a long test drive of the one she liked the most. And then she's walking off. She's going, well, I've just got to wait for this insurance claim to go through on this car. I'd really be upset if I missed out on it. Have you advertised it yet? And like, well, I haven't advertised it yet. But it's just the idea that you could hang on to a car on the off chance that once they... And then I've actually got emails from her saying, I'm still trying to negotiate with my insurance company, but they're taking like 6-7 days to get back to me. And at no point to say I'm going to hold the car for. Why would I ever hold a car for you over weeks and weeks on the off chance that once you've got the money in your bank, you decide you're going for my motor? Especially if you're telling me my car's too expensive in the first place, and you're trying to negotiate the price point down. It just
you'll think. I just think the entitlement with customers these days is through the roof.
That's the word I'd use. Yeah, I think you're right.
COVID really changed that, I feel, for customers. Like, see, since the customers just expect everything from you, and they expect to be buying new cars. Should it be your 2007 Volvo, James, to Umesh's Q5 2022? They just expect it to be brand new, out of the box, and you owe them everything, and you're going to fill it with diesel and you're going to deliver it to your door. You sort of feel, would you like us to chauffeur you about in the car as well? They just expect so much.
I had a really refreshing call yesterday. It was a gentleman who'd been recommended by me to come to me for a first car for his daughter, and he said, "I've got a bit of a limited budget. I've only got like between 2 and 3 grand for a little run around for her." He said, "But look, I'm realistic. I don't mind if it's a bit beat up on the corners, as long as it's mechanically sound. I'm not expecting it to be perfect. I don't mind if it's got scrapes and scratches on it, but as long as you've gone through it and you know it's safe and it's mechanically sound." And I was like, that makes it, because otherwise you just can't do it, can you? By the time, if someone wants to buy a 3 grand car, if you want every corner of it painted and the wheels painted and the interior to be immaculate, that's why you can't buy 3 grand cars, 2.5 grand cars from dealers, because that level, like you said, that level of expectation is totally out of whack. Unless someone's gifting you that car for £300. Do you know what I mean? £300 or £400. Who's doing that? Because they're all going on We Buying a Car going, well, actually, my car's worth 1,500 quid.
For me, that would have set alarm bells ringing. When someone tells you how, not worried
Reasonable they are.
reasonable they are, how easy of a transaction it's going to be, how they won't.
Yeah,
be
you're right.
You're going to be in there. I can guarantee
You are absolutely right. That is the way it plays out, isn't it? It is the way it plays out.
There's no rush for the car. I don't need it for a few weeks. There's no rush. You can guarantee the next one.
I'm not going to be the person that comes back to you over something silly. Oh, well, if you try and tune in Radio 2 on a Thursday while I'm turning left, the signal loses for a few seconds.
Same people who always used to ask you, can I buy it for a discount without a warranty? And if you're stupid enough to do it, they're like, I don't want a warranty. I don't want any of that sort of stuff. I'll sort it out myself. Oh, you'd live with them.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, they turn up in the car every 5 minutes. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
The customer who trades in the car that's absolutely banjaxed, it's so, like, there's grass growing inside it and everything. They pick up their new second-hand car that's new to them, but it's still a used vehicle. Oh, are we marking the inside of the dash of that or something? You're going, have you seen the car you just
Yes, yeah. Isn't it amazing what people will turn up with to Part X without putting the slightest bit of effort? They want to whinge about the price, but they'll turn up in a car that looks like they buried it in a hedge and left it there for 8 months and then just dug it back out again. And it's like, oh, you dealers, you're always trying to lowball us. It's like, look at the state of that thing.
No, but the thing is, James, it just needs a vacuum, and that's your job.
That's all it needs, and it's got an engine light on, but it's a really simple fix, and it'll fly straight through its next MOT.
It's been driving for 3 years with that engine light on. So it can't be a big problem. It's like,
oh yeah, hold on a second. I've got this one over here. I'll sell to you with an engine light on. I'm sure you're cool about that, aren't you?
Exactly.
And they're probably saying you just get the sensor off of eBay for 25 quid. That's all.
Yeah, that's it. Just haven't got round to doing it. And then you go for the invoices and go, it's been into a garage 10 times with someone trying to resolve this problem.
I'm sure we had someone once phone up and was just they were a whinger. I should have known they were a whinger. They were buying like a quite a nice, maybe 25-30 grand Range Rover, and it was just probably stretching, and it was all for image sort of thing. And I think they must have pulled up like the third row of seats, and they found something under there, like a kid's colouring book or something. It must have been missed by the valeters, or it had slidden out from somewhere or whatever. And you would have thought it was the end of the world. And it's like, they were like, yeah, we found this, whatever it was, under the rear seats, and clearly you didn't clean under there or whatever. So did you find anything else? Like, no. It's like, well, it might have just been tucked up. But either way, we're pretty sure COVID originated under the seats of your car. It was disgusting. And you're going up and really moan to us like it's changed your life. Like, what is wrong with people? My video going out tonight is a guy who saw me picking up a particular car on a video. And I'm really having to really think hard now about, I'm trying to get to a point where we prep the cars 100% before they're ready for sale. But now I can't even pick up a car in a video. This was a Discovery 4, and saw me pick it up in a video. I was like, yeah, I'll get that, I'll buy that. And he phoned up, and he'd WhatsApped, and he was just pestering us like hell for a price. We put it into Dealerkit, and the Auto Trader 100% was 21 grand for this thing, for this Disco 4. So he phoned up, and Jason, my salesman, spoke to him and said, well, it's not ready, it's not prepped or whatever, but the price at the minute it's saying is 21,000. He's going through the paperwork because we haven't had a chance to actually do our folder the way we like to and itemize it. He's like, it looks like it's pretty much full service history. And this guy then comes on to me saying, I've had a delayed response, because he emailed in the evening and didn't get a response till the morning, and started going off saying that's too much for that car and blah 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 blah. It's not wanting to name drop, but we got it from Mike Brewer. This is the point. That's probably why he's so interested.
Saw that one, yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, you're obviously overpaying for the cars, because I had one and sold it in 2020." Blah blah blah. He knows better than Auto Trader and Cap HPI.
Don't buy the
all
car
this sort of stuff. And he's like, you're obviously overpaying to buy favour with Mike Brewer, and but that's fine. It's obviously working well for your channel, which I have to say is doing well for just a plumber. And
what a nasty piece of work.
yeah, and he's like, but Joe Public surely can't be expected to pay over the odds because of that. And I was like, are you mad? Like, I don't got a bargain of a deal on that car, and that's what Auto Trader's saying it's priced at. Yeah, and he went on and on. Like, he sent another message like that. So I blocked him. I was just like, sorry, your message is like far too rude for me to even entertain getting back in touch with you. You've tried to jump the queue. We've given you the facts as we've got them. We've told you it's not ready. We've told you whatever. But he's just like, it's just trying to like bully and shame me into giving it to him, like, I don't know, $4,000 cheaper or something, because he thinks it should be cheaper.
You missed it, Joe. You missed it, Joe. You should have had him on the podcast.
Yeah.
I had exactly the same the other day. I put a car up, and he said to me, I think I bought it for 2 in the video, and I said it's going to go up for 3,995. And he saw I bought it for 2, and he messaged me, and I said, "What's it going?" He said, "What's it going up for?" I said, 3,995, and he went, "I appreciate you're going to make money, but doubling your money, that's outrageous." I'm like, how can you ever have watched my videos and think that £2,000 margin is £2,000 in my pocket? How can you ever have watched a video and thought that? And it doesn't matter how many times you try and educate people, they still seem to just take one figure from another. And oh yeah, I'm not paying tax. Of course I'm not paying tax. No, I'm not paying VAT, am I?
Rather than sticking £2,000 on it, I'll stick 1,500 quid on it, but I won't fix anything. I won't service it. I won't safety check it. I won't put an MOT on it, and I won't warrant it.
And if you can bring up HMRC and tell them that I shouldn't have to pay VAT on it, and I shouldn't have to pay any income tax, and I'll be happy to do an even further discount for you.
The customers don't have the perception of what it takes to run a business, especially car sales business. Like, I had a guy tried to sell me a car last year at some point, and he says, "You'll make £1,000 at that car." I was like, right, okay, well, we need to validate it. We need to pay our VATs and taxes you're saying. We need to pay our advertising bills. We need to pay the staff. Where do you think that £1,000 is going to end up? There's going to be nothing left out of it. But they just don't see that. They just see the end figure.
Yeah, I'll make 1,000 out if you give it with £2,000 margin and it needs nothing doing to it. Then I'll make £1,000 out of it.
Yeah.
But as you say, they have no concept of cost, do they, Malcolm? That's the whole thing. All they see is buy, sell price, full stop.
Yeah.
There's that much that goes on the whole process, and this is many years ago, and it's still circulating out there in the network. It started with a conversation with a customer who came in. He said, "Oh, that's nice profit, £2,000, whatever." Simple sort of conversation, and I said, "It's not profit though," and we had a bit of a laugh about it. I actually broke it down. I said, "Right, okay, that's gross, the VAT, HPI check, service, tyres, blah blah, whatever." And I did a printout, and in fact, Auto Trader said, "Can we use that on our training?" I said, "Yeah, of course you can." But it just showed if the car was reasonably good, you end up with 700-800 quid net. And if you got more spending on it, it's like 300 quid net. You know what I mean? If you've got tyres and whatever. And that's the whole thing, isn't it? Start with a couple of grand or whatever it may be, but in reality, it's what you actually physically end up with. And then the fact that we've got to stand by the car anyway, a bit longer, and tax and the rest, the income tax and the VAT, the corporation tax or whatever it may be, at the end of the year.
It's funny, we're in a market, isn't it, where someone tells Joe that his car's too expensive, even though he's using Auto Trader recommended. But when one of those platforms tells you what your part exchange value is, or We Buy Any Car tells you what your value of your used car is, that's outrageous. It's really way too low, and it's just lowballing people, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, the thing with that guy as well, the funny thing is, the first thing I said to him, because he was irritating me with his the message he sent me was like 21 grand for a Disco 4 ? About 8 times. I just put, don't buy it then, buddy. No one's forcing you to buy it.
Profit in the cars, James, like that's where I sort of got last year. Like, I was buying Fiat 500s because they were a good reseller. First time buyer cars, 5,995, Fiat 500s. But you're maybe giving 4,800, 4,900 for it, paying for me to ship it across the water. Then you were servicing it. The next thing it needed door locks because there was an ignition.
Yeah, every time.
And it was like
door handles.
Door handle, but no, it wasn't the door handle. There was something about the lock. But we had to replace the whole system, so we had to replace the ignition barrel and the 2 door locks. It was 500 quid. And I was going, so this wee Fiat 500, by the time I'm finished with it and paying my salesman for selling it, I'm actually going to be losing money on it because I wasn't expecting that prep on it. And it's just like, this is just stupid. But the customer doesn't see that.
And that's the other thing as well, isn't it? And then there's a car that you do make a good profit out, and if you showed it and said, right, I've actually ended up making £2,000 out of this car, net, people get upset, but then they forget the video previously where you lost sort of 600 quid on a car because you did say after 3 months, do you know what? It's borderline, but I'll do the warranty repair for you or whatever it may be. You know, I always say to people when they try and hammer me down on price, they say, look, at the end of the day, if you try and hammer me down to next to nothing, I'm going to be the dealer that avoids your phone calls when you've got a problem. If you leave me a margin in it, I can be the dealer that helps you out. So which would you prefer? Do you know what I mean? And a lot of them tend to understand that. But yeah, you can't say, well, oh, because I got that car really well and it turns out it hasn't needed some work, I'm going to undercut Auto Trader massively and give you a big discount on it, because if you do, in the rare occasion you do fall lucky like that, you need it to subsidise other cars, so your overall averages work out.
It's funny how the psychology works, because I love it when I'll do a video and I'll be like, right, I bought something really risky, a Range Rover or a sports car or something, and I'll say, net out at the end of that, we've made 4 or 5 grand or whatever it is. And it's like, so, you know, fingers crossed everything goes okay. We've actually done really, really well out of that car. And you'll always get someone who's like, 5 grand profit, that's way too much. I think £2,000 enough profit for any dealer sort of thing. You should have sold it cheaper. You're ripping someone off. And I was like, should we try and apply that same principle when you sell your house and it's gone up in value? And it's like, your house has gone up in value 50 grand, but that's a bit too much, really, I think. You know, you should only really put it up by 10 and let someone else have a bargain out of it. There's just, you'd scream and shout and, you know, there's no way you'd accept that.
I always say the same thing as well in that scenario. Okay, if you were selling it off your driveway and that person took it down the road and drove it for the next 6 months and the engine went bang on it, how much margin would you want in it to be liable for that? How much money would you want to make out those cars to be liable for a 10 grand repair potentially at a future point? Or if you've done it on finance, it could be anywhere up to 5 years. If you want to know more about it, just go over to Rob at Cubic Cars. Just put a video out, hasn't he, on the logbook about, I think he lost 35 grand over a 4-month period.
That's
I think.
Right. That's
trading
right,
cars,
yes. Yeah,
wasn't it, something like that?
I watched it yesterday. Yeah.
And he will make 5 or 6 grand out of a car. He's got no problem saying that. He can make 4, 5, 6 grand out of one of these real high-end supercars. But even making that margin, he's lost 35 grand over a number of months, because when a repair comes in, it's massive, and he isn't able to just walk away from it and shrug his hands and ignore the phone like a lot of people think you believe you can. So yeah, you have to, the bigger the risk, the bigger margin you have to work to. At the end of the day, I always say with my stuff, if I have to I think you were saying this with Joe as well, if I have to refund somebody on a 3 grand high-end II10 that I might have 2k in, do you know what I mean? I'm at the end of the world, I can do that, good number of times a month and still be okay, can't I? But once you start dealing with 60, 70, 80 grand motors and the repair bills they can throw up, you shouldn't begrudge a dealer a 4 grand margin on a profit on a car like that.
The customer always wants the car for nothing, and then they want all the add-ons with it, and they want you to stand over it, and they want this, that, and the other. And it's just like the margin's not there to do it, and it's a moving vehicle with moving parts and used parts, and the car can be done 60,000 miles, but they expect it to be new. And like, I had a guy the other day who needed a battery in a car, and it's just like, yeah, okay, the batteries do go. We've just had snow and frost. It's going to hit your battery. But we'll get it sorted. But it's the end of the world because his battery had gone in the car.
Yeah, they can't trust it anymore. Can't trust the car anymore.
No,
yeah, no. You didn't do your prep properly. They've lost faith in the vehicle. Yeah.
Yeah. How am I meant to know that the car really was okay? Oh.
Yeah, I think the thing is, I think they don't also understand the fact that there's a market value for that car for us to be buying it for as well. We can't buy them any cheaper. It's not a case of, we've got a secret stash somewhere, that we can buy them so much cheaper than anybody else. We're fighting to buy some of the stock. We're bidding against each other, so we've got to pay top dollar to get in the first place to fill the forecourts.
That was the whole COVID argument.
Don't grasp for that. Yeah.
When everyone was like, dealers have been ripping us off through COVID because the prices went crazy, and it's like, well, you realise we sold the cars and then we had to buy back the cars, so we were buying them at crazy high prices as well. We were making the same money as before. It's just the prices were higher. How hard is it?
You always get that comment. I get when I put TikToks out or I put videos in, I bet you only gave like 500 quid for that car, when it's a car that's easily worth a couple of grand. And you're like, where are all these people that are ignoring the fact they can go and check the value of their vehicle before they part exchange or trade it in? And if it's one, where's the volume of them as well? Because it might be 1 in 100 doesn't check these days, but there's certainly no volume of it. Like you say, there's no stealing the cars. Anybody watches any of these auction videos, I put one out on BCA the other day. Like you said, you're fighting other dealers to get the right stock in. By the time you've paid your fees and you've paid your delivery and the cars, you might have, might have done well, have £1,500 margin in a £5,000 car. That can disappear ever so quickly, especially if you are outsourcing your mechanics as well.
But again, if you look at Malcolm's obviously the shipping cost there, but even if you're buying from north to south or whatever, I've seen a couple of Sheik's invoices that he shared with us on the forum where £300 delivery, £400 delivery. So all of a sudden, that's got to go into the equation as well. It says, okay, it's the hammer price, you got the commission and the delivery, and then obviously the rest of all the prep and that goes with it as well. So I think people do forget all these sort of things. And
this is my argument for why some people say about my pricing down here versus the Midlands, and it's like, but there's no supply in North Devon. There's no supply of vehicles. So anytime you get a car, any car I've got, it's probably cost me £300 to get it here, just to get it here on a £3,000 or a £4,000 car.
My top expense last year was transport costs. I thought I had it there on my desk, but I don't have. My transport costs for my financial year, which is 1st of July to 30th of June, was nearly £100,000.
Wow.
For transport. That's before you've even put any margin on a vehicle. That's just for me having the facility to bring cars from the mainland to Northern, because the stock's just not here in Northern Ireland for us to buy. And you're having to go across. So the customer just doesn't see that. Where does that £100,000 come from?
One of my favourite things is when a customer comes in and their part exchange, and they're like, "I've looked on Auto Trader and they're selling for £5,000. So I want 4.5. Really, you make £500 easy because it's a really nice car." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, that's not really how it works." But tell you what, invest a couple £100,000, set up your forecourt, and then you can sell it for £500 more off your forecourt being a dealer, can't you?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not an easy £500. It's madness.
I've started saying that when I get people contact me about selling me their car, I'll give them two prices. I'll be like, one if you bring it to me, and one if I get it picked up. And when they see it's like £300 less or £400 less if it's further up, for them to for me to get it picked up, a lot of them are like, do you know what? It's gonna a day out. It's going to cost me £50 in fuel, £50 to get the train back. Do you know what? I'll bring it down, and I pretty much give them the same. I give them the difference between the two, so they get that much back. I think that works out quite well because, like you say, transportation costs are just, you're making someone a strong offer on a car, and then they go, well, actually, I need you to pick it up, and suddenly you have to knock £400 off the car, and that's less than motorway, or that's less than We Buy Any Car, but you're going to drive it down to We Buy Any Car, aren't you? You're going to drop it on a doorstep.
I seen some lorry for sale the other night on one of the trade sites. This guy was selling 2 transport lorries, 10 or 11 car transport lorries. I'm thinking, I asked him what the price of it was, and I thought, that's half of what my bill was last year for bringing cars home. Should I go and buy a lorry? But then I thought, well, you've still got to pay your boat, you've got to pay your fuel, you've got to pay a man to drive it, you've got all those other headaches and stress you talk about. And I went, nah, something, just
forget it.
You don't need.
That's an okay outsource. That's something that's okay to outsource. I'm not getting involved in that.
Yeah, people say that to me, why don't you go and pick them up yourself? But I know what it's like. I mean, one, that's a day out of business where I could miss a sale if I was out getting it myself. You only need to get caught in traffic and you've written off the entire day, haven't you? And when you eat like I do, you're going to spend £100 off food and the travel and the journey anyway. So doesn't really stack up.
What Scott said, I don't think he said it on our podcast, but I heard him say it somewhere else, maybe on another one. He to avoid having to spend a lot of money on transport and whatever, they will offer to put the customer up in a hotel that's nearby for the night. So we don't do transport, or we do transport, but it would cost you, I don't know, let's say £300. Or if you want to come to us, we'll put you up complimentary in a hotel, 4-star hotel across the road, and you can drive down, stay, have a nice meal, and then drive back the next day. So he's never had anyone not take it. And I was like, I really need to
that's a good idea.
Figure that out. What's it, £50 for a double room or something somewhere reasonably nice?
My farm mate's got some caravans in the field. That's the budget version.
Here's what you need to do, James. That other unit you're taking on, just get a row of bunk beds in there. Chops is camp.
Make it look like a hostel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Chops is cottage.
Come up, all your trade buyers and lorry drivers and whatever coming to collect them all. Right, we probably should move on from just moaning about all that sort of stuff. But I wanted to touch on. Malcolm, you're saying that you sort of said about it a bit earlier, but do you think we're feeling a bit of a hangover from COVID with things going on? Because the more and more people we talk to, the more this, especially that sort of this year, maybe the hangover of last year, people are like, do you know what? I might scale back. I might try and be a bit more efficient. And it's no more just like bigger, better, throw money at it and you make more money. It's changed, I think.
I've heard recently a lot of people probably on podcasts complaining about COVID. Is it just that we're trying to blame COVID still? Like, to me, in my opinion, COVID's gone. Forget about it. I think we're just back into the normality of car business. We have good months, we have poor months. You can speak to one dealer and they've had a great month, and you speak to another dealer, they've had a poor month. I think we're just back into normal car trading business. I think we need to get rid of this COVID label. It's been there. We've done it. We've experienced these highs of all these prices, and we've experienced all the lows of coming back off COVID again. We're just back into normal business, and I feel it's just that you probably have a lot of mainstream garages who are now selling a lot more used vehicles rather than new vehicles. I think that's probably changing the concept of buying. You have people buying in a different manner. You have people buying just to make profit on their add-ons rather than their chassis profit. So I think the market, there's just not as many cars out there in the market, so therefore that's affecting prices. Like, I bid for 11 cars yesterday and ended up getting 5, and I'd be a strong enough buyer and bidder for stuff relation to cap and whatnot, and I thought whoever bought them cars has given strong money for them, so they're entitled to have them. But there's no point getting hung up on it or blaming this, that and the other. It's just the market we're in, and you just have to nitpick where you can to get half decent cars at half decent margin.
That's an interesting dynamic you spoke about that. I don't think we've ever talked about that on the channel. That was a big change, wasn't it, with COVID, was that the main dealers started to sell stuff they wouldn't necessarily have ever bothered to mess around with at all. And I found that when I was going, because I've got a relationship with a main dealer, I'm lucky to have one. You go in the yard and oh no, we're gonna retail that 15 plate because it's only got 60,000 miles, and you thought before you wouldn't go anywhere near that. You wouldn't have that on the forecourt at all. So yeah, I think that's definitely is one hangover from it. That I think that, I mean, do we think they'll start to scale back on that? I guess if they start to get the stock in at the other end, they may do. They were just desperate to fill the yard, weren't they? I think at that point.
I think the problem's been, I think if you think about it then, so again, a good friend of mine, he buys a lot from a well-established Ford dealer. And again, during the COVID time, he was pulling on the pitch, sending us pictures and saying, they're retailing this car at 2,999, a Ford main dealer. He said they would never look at it before. But all of a sudden, every time he turned up, 2,999, 349, whatever it was. But I think that the other problem we've got is we're well past COVID, as you say, Malcolm. We're back into what I say pre-pandemic days, aren't they? This is 2018, 2019 trading area sort of thing, and values will drop, etc. But also, 2020, 2021, all those cars we haven't got, have we? So that's why all of a sudden there's a big void of those cars, 4-5-year-old cars, aren't they? So there's a massive gap, isn't it, on those? And that's what we're all trying to fight for, those 4-5-year-old cars.
You're all trying to fight for them, and everybody's trying to do their business in different ways. As I said, like, I'm a margin person. Yes, the add-ons are the same as you. The add-ons are nice if you get them, but you have the other big buyers who just need to keep their forecourt stocked. Like, I can't remember what Scott said the other day, how many cars he now has in stock. He's constantly having to get those filled up. But then, is that why, like myself, are going, well, we don't need that amount of cars anymore. Let's just bring it back, and then we're not fighting for as many cars, and you can make the business more profitable and more efficient. And that's certainly why I've tried to do, and it seems to be working. And I think not most, but a lot of other guys are doing the same thing.
I think you're absolutely right there. I think that's another valid point about if you were trying to expand past the point you are now, stock-wise. I think if you are getting to a site where you've got 200 plus cars on, you've got to keep buying that stock in. And if you're working off the margin alone, you probably wouldn't be able to fill that yard up, would you? You've got to be looking at those cars going, well, I know I'm going to make X amount on finance, on gap, on whatever else you're adding on top. You wouldn't be able to buy at auction. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to buy at auction on margin, would you, and fill a forecourt up where you need to be buying, 50 cars in a week or whatever it is you might need to buy.
No, like if we get down to 90 cars some week, so what? It's fine. Next week we could back up 110. But it's manageable and it's doable. But like, I would not like to be out there at the minute trying to stock 150, 200 car pitches for margin. That's for sure.
I agree with you completely, Malcolm. And I think, I've said for a little while, I think people are saying about it being like, oh, it's all COVID and, all that sort of stuff. I was like, well, it's just gone back to how car dealing was before. Prices went down, not up. Like, it was great for a while that your stuff that had been hanging around was going up in price. But there's definitely something happening. And maybe it's not, it's like the hangover of COVID. Maybe it's just because everyone was like, wow, it's a great time to be selling cars. And they were just throwing money at it, borrowing money left, right, and centre, because more money just resulted in more profit. And that's definitely changed. And obviously, was it the beginning of last year? It all dropped and kind of like resettled. I think it probably did resettle by about 10 or 11%. And then we've been kind of going normal from there. But we are seeing dealerships like drop off. I don't know whether it's because they didn't adapt again and get the borrowing back under control and focus on profits rather than volumes or what it was. But I do wonder if there's also, it's funny that you mentioned actually that you're saying about in COVID main dealers were selling used stuff, but there's an awful lot of main dealers who are handing back their association or whatever you call it, your license, your whatever, with your Vauxhall, your Volvo, and they're like, do you know what, we're going to be a specialist and we're going to sell used cars, because with the ZEV and all that crap, there's no money to be made in new cars anymore. So if we want to stay afloat as a business, we just got to go back to selling used cars now. So I don't know if there's more people in the market or what, but there's definitely something going on. People are sort of, maybe it's to do with the budget and stuff like that as well.
I agree with you.
Or are we overanalyzing? Am I overanalyzing?
No, I think you're right. I think what's happened, Joe, is I think, as you said, I think lots of people have thought, do you know what? Let's buy more cars, more borrowings, whatever, thinking that's going to be the massive change. But then all of a sudden they've realised, yes, they've probably sold more cars, but the borrowings have taken away the margins. So all of a sudden, hold on a minute, we've sold 1,000 cars more, whatever, a year, but then the margins are still not there because of the borrowings. So that's because you think, a few years ago, main dealers, franchise, whatever, there's like you're borrowing at 3, 4, 5%. All of a sudden, it's like 7 or 8%. So it's double what the borrowings are. But on top of that, as you've just said, I mean, we've got the Ford network joining the IMDA. So we've got 100 Ford dealers who've joined the IMDA. All those dealers have lost the franchise, given up the franchise, whichever way it may be. Now, all of a sudden, talking to Alan, who's joined the committee, he was saying they've got to start finding used cars now, because all these people have not, they've had the part exchanges coming in, but now they've got to think a different way to buy used cars. So all of a sudden, that's at least 100 dealers now, if not more, throughout the country needs to restock the forecourt and be specialist in used cars as opposed to being a franchise dealer. So again, there's more competition going to be out there for all of us, isn't it, really?
I think the point you made there is one we hear a lot. I think you're absolutely bang on with it. We're hearing it an awful lot. All the people talking about scaling back are people that, when we've spoken to them, said, I did just expand and I got the volume up. And now I've sat down and actually looked at the books. I didn't actually make any more money out of it. So I think you've hit the nail on the head. And I think, possibly the boom in COVID had them do that expansion. And now they're sitting down and actually reviewing where they got with it. They're going, actually, I didn't actually end up any better off financially, with a lot more stress and hassle. I wonder how many of the people really kicking off, I wonder how many car dealerships were set up during COVID in the boom. And that was actually their start point. And now they probably are really, really feeling it because they've never had anything else other than that.
People were having a lot of people said those 21, 22 were the best years they've ever had. And they could have been in the business for 40 years, but they were the best years they've ever had. They could have just started and they were like, wow, this is what car dealing is like. It's a piece of piss. Or whatever it is, but then it's come back to reality, isn't it? And I think some people are either like, oh, wow, this is a lot harder than I thought it would be, or, God, I'm depressed because those 2 years were great and I'm on a real come down now. It's much harder. It's not as fun anymore. And it's like a real perfect storm, isn't it? Because now you've got all this finance stuff coming in, and you've got customers who are just getting more picky and almost like, I don't know, just trying to find more loopholes, I think, in a sense. It's great if customers are more educated on what their rights are and whatever. I'm all for that.
The problem is whenever they have too many rights.
This 14-day thing, if you don't tell us that it's got 14-day, you make a slip up and it's not in the paperwork. That guy who was returning Teslas, 50,000 miles 2 years later because he knew he could because he was an arsehole. It's like there's so many more things you've got to watch out for now.
We still enjoy it though. That's the thing. Like the four of us sitting here absolutely love what we're doing. We sit and moan about it and we complain about this, that, and the other. But, what else will we do? We love it. It's challenging. It has its moments where you're just like, I am fed up with this here, but it's still great. I love meeting new people. I've enjoyed being part of the IMDA committee, getting on there, doing different things. It's just even doing this here. And it's just one of those jobs that I don't think you could get anywhere else. And it's all worth it.
Yeah,
it all is a decent enough lifestyle.
I think that is one of the things about my hesitation about expansion and taking on staff is I do enjoy it. Like you say, we have a whinge and people like to hear the stories on the channel about customers being difficult. But I enjoy it. I guess one of the reasons I can enjoy it is I don't feel massive pressure at all. Like I'm not looking at sales and figures and thinking how many I did, the month versus this month, and
yes,
because my overheads are so low, I don't have to.
Are.
Well, I like to make. Don't get me wrong. I like to make money, and I like to continue to make. I like to try and improve on it, but I just feel I can enjoy it because I don't have that pressure of going one thing. I don't have to sit there and go, geez, I need to buy bloody 20 cars this week to fill in the empty spots. So yeah, we like to share the stories on it, but I say, I say it to people all the time when they come and see me. I just get to come and play with cars all day, don't I?
Well, like you said, you're moaning about your tax bill, so you already know that even if you stayed doing what you're doing now, you could afford a mechanic there to help you out 24/7. It would have been tax deductible. So I don't know what the. And I got an interesting statistic for you, James. 3 out of 4 people here have their own in-house workshop. You're the odd one out.
Okay, so is that necessarily a good thing? I don't know.
Probably not in my case, but I think these two guys are doing.
Yeah, I have seen a video of yours, Joe, where you made no money out of your car business.
Well, not no money, not no money.
Well, a little bit of money.
Yeah.
A little bit of money out of your car business.
James will have an advert on here this afternoon looking for a mechanic all across all his socials. Say, well,
yeah.
No. I've got Blind Pete. Anyway, I've got Blind Pete. He's almost become permanent. Blind Pete's in almost every other day.
I think what we'll see is James will have more space and he'll buy more cars. And be like, just haven't got time to prep them. I'm going to have to sell them in a batch to Theo down at Bowen's. And Theo will send down a lorry for 10 of them. He's like, just had too many or whatever. I can't get through them on my own, but I won't hire anyone.
Yeah, but does that matter if I made money selling in the 10? Because he's put my daughter through university. So does it really matter if I'm making money?
Not at all, mate. As long as you're making.
If I was losing money, I'd understand the argument. But if that transport was going off and I've made, whatever, maybe it's a third of what I would do retail, but I never have to see those cars again.
Well, you got to see Theo again, and he'll tell you.
I was just going to say,
there is. I have to deal with smug Theo going, I sold them all in 10 minutes flat for a massive margin. I have to deal with that. There's a little bit of sickness that kicks in for a little while after that, but yeah.
But he's still a lovable guy. Like you can't know. He's all right.
You do a few trades with him, don't you, Malcolm?
Yeah, I do. Like I've only met him for the first time in the Car Dealer Awards back in November, December time. That's the thing with me being over in Northern Ireland. I've get in touch with so many people, and know so many people virtually, but you never actually get to meet them. And I got to meet Theo for the first time, and he's a great guy. He says he was good. He was in good form that night. Now I have to say, he was in really good form that night. But it's just I enjoy those sorts of events where you can go and meet up with people and put faces to names and just get to know who they actually are without just over a WhatsApp message or a Facebook message or something. So
yeah,
it's good.
Massive difference into that. Massive, yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right. 100%. Yeah, meeting people in person. It's those events are great because they just make the country or the world, that much smaller. You're all in one place because I'm sure we all keep sort of not tabs on each other, but we always like to. Other people pop up and we kind of know what they're doing. And
I always feel a bit alienated over here in Northern Ireland, and I always feel that you're sort of at a disadvantage before you even start any of these things because obviously you're away over there out of the road, So it's nice when you actually get to the finals of some of these things and you actually get to go to them and pick up an award. It's great, but it's just nice networking and meeting people, and people maybe know you and come up to you and go, "Oh, Malcolm, how are you?" And you're like, "I have no idea who you are, but you seem to know me." And I would probably do the same to somebody else, like Scott, for example. I've seen who Scott is and what he does, but one of the awards last year was able to go up and shake his hand and say, "Scott, nice to meet you," and that's just one example. There's so many people. Theo, sold cars to Theo for years, never met him. And it's just like, got to meet them in November, December. You don't get to do that because I'm away over here and you've got this big, massive piece of water between us, so it's good.
Yeah, yeah. But do you get quite a lot through the trade, or do you do auctions? Where's the sort of bulk of your stock coming from?
Yeah, the majority of my stuff would come from auctions, but over the years, just you've met different people who have you in their WhatsApp group or send you a message, and they'll know the sort of stock you buy, and they'll just say, "Here, this is your sort of thing. Do you want to buy it?" And you're like, "Yeah, that's fine." So there's not as much as that now because I think the Facebook groups and the WhatsApp groups are so exhausted with people in it that it's literally fastest finger first. So I don't really pay much attention to them anymore because you just, by the time you look at it, oh, it's sold. It's like, all right, okay.
Yeah, I'm in quite a few, and I mute them because mainly, my phone would be buzzing in my pocket. I want to throw it out the window of the car. It drives me mad. I'm too irritable. But yeah, it's like got like 1,000 notifications for cars. I can't keep up with it. It's
Guys, I'm going to have to excuse myself because I'm trying to see that Cash Guy again, but we've got him on a Cougar now. So I told you Cash Guys sell like hotcakes, but apologies for having to disappear. It wasn't expected. They've turned up. Yeah, great to meet you, Malcolm, and
Yes,
great chat, guys. And I will catch you next one. This is unfortunately the thing of doing it all yourself, isn't it?
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'll catch you again, guys.
Get it sold.
James,
Cheers. Yeah, we'll do. I'll let you know.
What were we saying?
I think we're talking about buying from auction and stuff. Yeah, so I have to go across the mainland because there's just not the stock in Northern Ireland. There's so many dealers in Northern Ireland looking for that stock, and then Brexit complicated the whole thing for us because the southern dealers can come up to Northern Ireland and buy cars. So you've the whole of Ireland buying cars in Northern Ireland. It doesn't work. So it doesn't, So it's difficult.
So when you're buying, Malcolm, so what's the criteria you look at?
I will literally go through a list and go, yeah, that might say. I try and keep it under 10-year-old, under 100,000 mile is the sort of criteria. I try and stay away from troublesome stuff like 1 litre EcoBoost, and I've got bitten by 1.2 stuff and Jaguar Land Rover product. I used to have a row of Discovery Sports. I could have 10 or 12 of them any one time, and they were great. They were making loads of profit, and then I had to send 2 to London to get engines in them. So like from Northern Ireland to London to get engines, I went, this is just stupid. I'm not doing that anymore. So I've said, right, no more Jaguar Land Rover stuff. So yeah, anything just that I think there's margin in, I suppose. I'll look at it and go, yeah, okay, I think I could sell that. Something the other day was said about using your head as well as using the data that's in front of you. Sometimes you look at Auto Trader ratings and it's 15 out of 100, and you go, don't know, but yeah, well that would actually sell it. I'll take a go at that. So I don't have a criteria of, I must have X, Y, or Z. It's just if I think there's value for money in it, I like the look of it, I'll buy it.
Being over in Northern Ireland, do you have an Auto Trader account? Have you got a way of doing a retail rating, or have you got it with Cars NI or something like that? Is there some way of giving you some data?
Yeah, Auto Trader, just the same as you guys use. Cars NI are a big player in Northern Ireland. They don't have the same sort of data that Auto Trader has. They have a data for information for your own stock that tells you what's popular and what's not, but I don't think it's very good because you already know that car's in stock 90 days, so you don't need some data to tell you that. Whereas Auto Trader predicts when it's going to sell and the desirability and things like that there. But the problem I have is that I'm competing then on Auto Trader with the rest of the UK. So somebody in Northern Ireland goes on and sees the price of a car and it's higher price. Well, actually, I've had the cost of bringing that car over from the mainland, so I can't compete with, say, Umesh is the same car. I can't compete with his price because he doesn't have the cost of getting the car across to Northern Ireland, but yet we're still using the same platform. And I've questioned the guys at Auto Trader, like, is this data just for Northern Ireland? And they try to tell me that it is, but when you actually look down the retail ratings, all the cars you're seeing is the ones in the mainland. So it doesn't make sense.
I think it's quite interesting with the Auto Trader, I think, with the ratings, because I don't overstudy those. I think sometimes I go with the gut feeling, but I think sometimes I'm thinking it's got such a low, desirability, and you get swayed by it. And I've sold so many cars where it might be low desirability, but I feel there's a market for that car anyway. So I think sometimes you get carried away. So literally, a friend of mine rang me last week, and I won't give it away what the model is. But anyway, it's one that he'd sold a couple of years ago. Got a chance to buy it back. He said it's like, I don't know, 10 or 12 out of 100. And I just said, get it bought. I said, that car will fly away. He said, well, I was so much on the barrier of like, no, I don't want to buy it because of the rating. In the end up, he actually bought the car and he sold it within 24 hours.
Yeah.
But he was so hooked up on the rating, he was like, no, I don't want to commit to spending all that money on the car. So, yeah, it could be a fluke, I don't know. But yes, sometimes you get too hung up.
The data gives you a bit of confidence, doesn't it? If you've got no experience, and if you've got some experience and you can combine the two, then you've got the winning formula, probably, haven't you?
That's what I do. I'll sit with used cars and I am one screen, and I'll sit with the Auto Trader thing the other screen and go, right, well, Auto Trader telling me that car's an 11,995 retail, but actually with used cars and you could actually 12,995 that car. So I'm always trying to price to our market, which is Northern Ireland, and try and be as competitively priced as we can.
Yeah, I would have thought you could sort of almost charge, not necessarily a premium, but I would expect your cars to be more expensive than they are here on the mainland, because there's that much more. And you've got. I imagine there aren't as many options.
There's not. Plus, we have a lot of admin too. Again, since Brexit, I keep talking about Brexit because it's a pain in the backside. But we have to record every car that comes in from the mainland into Northern Ireland. We have to show our invoices for the proof of purchase and all the rest of it, even though it's classed as a non-risk item. So like you have somebody, our transport company does one part of it, then I have one of the officer who does the other part of it. That costs money. That's admin time that needs to be paid for. But yet, if Joe Public from here went over to England to buy a car, they don't have to do that. And it's just where's the logic in that? That I could drive over in a boat or fly over in a plane and pick up a car and drive it home, and it's for your own use. You don't have to do the TSS report, whereas here you do. And I know a lot of guys in Northern Ireland don't do it. What repercussions are going to be of that, I have no idea. But I've always said, right, I'm always going to do the thing properly, so let's do it. But you have that admin cost to take into consideration, as well as the transport cost to bring it across. So cars do have to be more expensive in Northern Ireland.
Seems quite crazy, though, the fact that, as you say, if it's all got to be registered, that's the process, that should be. But as you say, all these guys taking a bit of a flyer might come back to haunt it one of these days, isn't it, really? But as you say, if you just do the job right in the first place, at least you can sleep at night and have to think of all those cars are going to come back with.
I have other dealers ringing me at times and maybe asking questions about, do I need to do TSS for this? And I'm thinking, I've been doing this for 3 years, 4 years. Why are you asking me, what have you done with all the cars this last 3 or 4 years? We just don't bother doing it. Right, okay.
There's always someone who's out there willing to cut corners, and obviously I'm a gas engineer by trade, so every 5 years, God, it must be due to come again, and it's dull as anything. I've got to do my gas training to make sure I'm qualified and I know how to test that there's no gas leaks on a house, gas system. And the amount of old boys and things that would be there, and they'd be like, what do you, and you're just like, how do you not know, like, the real basics? Like, how can, you've been doing this for 30 years and you're asking me how you use a manometer to check the pressure of the, it's crazy. It doesn't matter what there is. There's always, and it always pays to do it right, because compound interest works in both ways, doesn't it?
It's the same as car dealers. There's car dealers who'll advertise their cars at less price because they're not preparing their cars the way we do. And I can speak openly for the three of us. I know that we'll all prepare our cars to the highest standards. So therefore, you pay a premium for that basis, that you're buying a car that's well prepped. Joe Blogs down the street that's not prepping his car and it needs brake discs and pads and 3 tyres, but sure, it'll be all right. That's why his car's 500 quid cheaper.
Yeah. You're not in a sense buying just the car, are you? You're buying the peace of mind and the quality of the service and
absolutely,
and all that sort of stuff. We're knocking on for time, so I will let you go very soon. I just wanted to ask you, outside of car sales and the business and whatever, what's your sort of passions? Because I'm seeing a Mustang behind you. You got a big, was it a Chevy pickup truck you got on your forecourt? In orange. And is that sort of a passion? Is I would imagine is road racing a passion of yours, being over in Northern Ireland?
That's a good question, very appropriate time for asking that question. So my big passion is hockey. I play field hockey for a local team. I think it was 10 days before we come online here last night. We had a match last night and it was freezing pitch. We were like Bambi on ice running across a pitch after a ball. It was just legs going everywhere. But yeah, I do have a passion for cars. I have a big birthday coming up this year, and I always said I'm going to have a red Ferrari for my 40th. I'm just going to treat myself to a red Ferrari, and I bought an M4 last year. Of course, an orange, had to be orange M4, and I love driving that car. Why would I go out and buy a Ferrari? So I used to do a bit of rallying. I went, so I'm going to buy myself a rally car. So I bought myself a Group N Subaru Impreza a month ago. So I'm waiting on it coming. So I'm going to do a bit of rallying in my spare time. In between having 3 children and a wife and running the business, I'm playing hockey. I'm somehow going to find time for doing the odd rally stage. So yeah, I enjoy sports, enjoy cars. I do like. I have an orange Mustang as well. I have an orange F100 pickup. So I do like my toys.
You got a few toys, yeah.
And I like my sport too.
Pleased to hear it. Yeah, maybe you must have some pretty good driving roads over there. Maybe I'll come over at some point. We'll do a Mustang and I'll bring something and we can do some
Absolutely.
Northern
No
Ireland
problem.
driving roads or something. That'd be
Yeah,
quite
no,
cool.
we've some
I've
great,
not.
great roads over here.
I don't know if I've ever been, and I feel like I need to. I'm sure I'm missing out on some pretty incredible scenery over there.
Yeah,
The hockey is that just field hockey? Is there more than one type of hockey? Sort of.
There's an ice hockey. So you have ice hockey.
Yeah, obviously you've got field hockey, but isn't there one where you've got is it like a cross between, or am I just thinking? Because I feel like the sort of Northern Irish hockey I've seen is just like, I don't know, just physical assault and murder on a field with a
You're going to get into really dangerous territory here where we're having discussed the difference between Irish sports and Northern Ireland sports. So you've got something called hurling, which is, let's say, a bat and a ball. Although they don't like you calling it a hurley bat, I don't think. But you've got bats and balls, and you've got sticks and balls. So, hockey is very much, it's on like a 3G pitch. So it is ball stays on the ground. Well, it's supposed to stay on the ground at all times, and it's a good sport. I enjoy. I used to play it at school, and then I started the motor trade and working late nights and working Saturdays. I ended the hockey career, and then my wife plays hockey as well, and she invited me along to a mixed tournament, and one of the guys that was there said, "Oh, why not come and play for Parkview Hockey Club?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm actually in a position now where I could. I'm not working late nights, and I'm working only Saturday mornings at that stage." And went, "Yeah, I'll get back into it again." So I'm actually captain of the team this last couple of years, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. We've done well. We've had a good couple of seasons, so yeah, I enjoy it. It's just nice. I find in running the business and certainly having 3 young kids, I need time out just to go and get my head showered and just have a bit of crack with the lads and just potentially take out some frustration on the ball. And I do enjoy it. I love going out to train on the Wednesday night and matches on the Saturday, and just something to go for.
Do you keep a hockey stick in the office just in case you need to take some frustration out of work?
No, I make sure, because a hockey stick around cars could be very dangerous. So I just make sure the hockey stick stays at home. There could be a few broken headlights out.
Into some kind of sport or even just the gym would do me well, because I know I miss that as well. Just having that bit of a release away from work and a de-stress and whatever. So.
I think you need to, don't you? You just need something. I mean, I play badminton a couple of times a week, and then the off-roading will start again in March. Hopefully I'll be back into that again. But yeah, you just need to just get away from it, don't you, really? Just different, zone out. You're concentrating on what you're doing in the games or the off-roading or whatever. Yeah, it's got to be done. Yeah.
You just forget about the motor. The motor trade sucks you in. The motor trade just becomes a way of life. Like, I know some of the guys that work 24 hours a day, they work 7 days a week, and you're just like, when I started this business, I said, right, I'm not doing late nights. We finish at 5:30 in the evenings. I'm not doing long day Saturdays. We do 2 hours on a Saturday morning, 10 o'clock to 12. Now, sometimes the guys come in maybe a bit early to do handovers and they might not get away to 12:30, but majority it's 10 to 12. I'm now in a position, because I've got the staff, I don't have to work Saturdays, which is great. I can spend time with the kids in the morning before we go and play hockey. And it's just like the motor trade can just suck you in, and it's just, you have to go, right,
all-encompassing, isn't it?
That's not happening. There's more to life than selling cars.
It's great. Yeah, it's a really healthy way. And I know when I took over this place, and I would have worked all the hours under the sun, but I noticed that on the door they only worked 9 till 5 throughout the week, and they did 10 till 2 on a Saturday. And you're like, do you know what? I'm going to stick to that. I mean, I could be open on a Sunday and get more sales, but I just know it would kill me. And what's the point then?
The chances are, Joe, you probably wouldn't sell any more cars. I think it'd still be the same. I mean, I've closed, I said before, since I started back 27 years ago, Sunday closed, end of. That was it, and the odd time over the years, if somebody's very committed and I'm free, then I will make an appointment, we'll meet up. But otherwise, I am closed. And, the cars that I've been selling, majority come back in the week. The odd sale you miss, so be, that's life. And you don't have to worry about getting every sale. So no, but I think as time's gone, I think people have realised that time is so valuable. But not only that, I think if you get so hooked on working, a lot of dealers do 24/7, they're just, yeah, you got no thinking time, have you really? Because you're just in day in day out. It's just muddle into, don't you really? And you need to just refresh yourself and get out of the situation.
It's the same if you're on your phone maybe on a Sunday and you're flicking through Facebook and all these cars are getting listed and you're going, guys, if you've nothing better to do on a Sunday, go and chill out with the family, go for a walk, just forget about cars for one day just to get your mind cleared. I think it's important to get your mind cleared.
Sometimes as well, when you manage to give yourself a break, or you go away for a few days, or you take the weekend off and you're really doing not a lot, or you're in the gym, you're playing hockey, you're off-roading, which is another thing we need to talk about, Umesh, as well. I want to come and take part in that as well.
Oh, absolutely.
That's when you have your best ideas, or you have your epiphanies, and you think, oh, do you know what? Actually, you have your realizations. You're like, that thing I've been worrying about all week, why didn't I just do this? And that would have solved it. That's fine. Monday morning, we'll do that, and that'll be it solved. Sometimes you can't, well, I guess you can't see the wood for the trees or whatever, can you? It's just...
What I also find is, like, I'm going away, as I say, next week with the kids, and I will very much be looking forward to getting back to work the following Monday, because as much as I love my kids, the three of them screaming and shouting in the cars, are we there yet? Are we there yet? For 5 days, I'll be going, I cannot wait to get back to work on Monday. Gives you a whole new love for the job.
Gives you something to look forward to, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Right, well, there we are. Thank you so much for coming on, both of you, and... thank you, Umesh, for coming on. Don't forget to check out the IMDA and all that sort of stuff. And Malcolm, thank you for coming on, giving us all.
Thank you for having us on, Joe. Really enjoy it, and love your podcast. So keep doing the good work.
Appreciate that. No problem at all. We will get you in our Dealerchat WhatsApp group. And for everyone who's listening, and I get a lot of messages like, how can I get on the WhatsApp group? Maybe we'll set up another one that's like general whatever, but we're being very tight and we're only allowing Dealerchat guests into our special group. So welcome on board, Malcolm.
I am absolutely honoured to be into this group chat. You have just made my whole week, Joe. Thank you so much.
No problem at all. Can't wait to meet you in there. That is it. Where can everyone find you, Malcolm?
On socials, MB Motors NI. We're on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all the usual places. We'd love to chat to you guys sometime again about the YouTube. I'm sort of dipping my toes in there, but you guys seem to do great with YouTube. We are there, but we're not any extent of what you guys do. But maybe that's a conversation for another time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure you do well, especially with the site there and everything. You could, the more people are doing it, the better. I think it's and it's. I don't think you'll regret it if you get into it. So yeah, we'll have a chat. We'll catch up on this later. But we'll leave it there because we're knocking on for a really long one again. But I really appreciate it. Thanks both for coming on, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, catch you soon.